Hi there, welcome to Isle Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Cancer energy. And for this round, we're going to use Maruk X deck from their Etsy shop. Kind of a mix of their Lenormand and Kipper deck. And see what the story is today for Cancer energy. We're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because not everybody harnesses high vibe Cancer energy. Some people harness some more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. Life's all about learning lessons, and love is supposed to be just and fair, and you're supposed to treat other people the way you want to be treated, and get out of your ego to learn lessons in life. And for some people, that's not where they're at right now. They could be more in love with themselves, more in love with the world, caught up in the world, want to make their life more about those things, and just kind of tipped out of balance is how you could look at it. So, let's go see what we got here. I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading. Let's see. It says the Heart card, and where is... Shoot. Oh, here it is. Well, it says the 7th house on it, and I don't know my houses. I have it written on a piece of paper. Well, let's see. The 7th house is Libra energy, about partnership. You know, we can have different people in our life. They align with our more worldly, shadowy energy, and so long as we stay in fear, insecurity, or codependency, or making our life more about the world, there's people in our life that are would be in long-term relationships with us because they're kind of in that energy too. But we also have the free will to be in relationships with people who are more aligned with our high vibrational nature of a more balanced life and more inspired by love instead of more of the fear or the codependency or whatever. And we have to decide who we want to spend our time with. And the outcome of the reading is the Mountain card, which says Capricorn energy. And Capricorn energy in shadow is represented by the devil, and in high vibe, it's about, I view it as the King of Pentacles, where you free yourself from things that used to manipulate you, and you healed and you grew and you matured yourself. You know, you could have known people that harness a shadowy Libra and Capricorn energy. You could also know people that harness high vibe Libra and Capricorn. And you come in contact with these different types of people to figure out, you know, shadowy Capricorn, also represented by the King of Pentacles. And Libra, I view as represented by the King of Swords. And the kings can represent how people present themselves in the world. Anybody can present themselves as a just and fair, stable, grounded, loving family person that you should date and marry or be friends with. But some of them aren't who they say they are. They do think it's just and fair to maybe live more from their mind than their heart. They are more driven and motivated to get in relationships and friendships more for the status, the ego, the image. And eventually we kind of see the truth of it, right? So we start out with the Stork, the Poverty, and the Ship. The Stork can be about giving birth to new things, and high vibe people want to give birth to new things. That is about freeing yourself to get the justice you deserve. I live my life at a phase of life in the Poverty card. It's kind of like the Five of Pentacles. We had a way of living life, but then we kind of listened to our intuition that, you know, it's time for me to go to the next phase of life, grow up, heal, mature myself, face my fears, to detach from an old way of living life and viewing life, to go to that next phase of life. Just like I did age 15, going to 18, to 21, to 25, right? And we continue to do that throughout our life, some people. And the Ship is Aries energy, fire sign energy of being inspired to keep moving forward, keep learning lessons, keep freeing ourselves from things that manipulate us, and shedding old ways of being, learning lessons, realizing what should stay, what should go. Keep being inspired more by truth and love and justice and fairness. Then we have the Mice card, which is the 2nd house, which is Taurus energy. You know, we have a new philosophy of life. The Five of Pentacles of the Poverty card is also Taurus energy. At any stage of our life, Taurus can represent our philosophy of life, and it kind of dictates the decisions that we make in our life because of the way we view ourselves, the way we view the world, how we view others. And you kind of realize that there could be the mice can talk about things that are kind of eating away at your foundation. Do we have a lack mentality? Have we been more caught up and inspired by the world? Have we been more caught up in our ego or image, or looking to things to make us feel better than doing this work within ourselves to see the truth of what really manipulates us? And so the Stork card is also Aries energy, where we're kind of inspired to work through those things that kind of gnaw away at us, and things in our life that we see are kind of destructive to our foundation and moving forward in life. And so then in the Sith card, I think is how you pronounce it, which is also Libra energy, but of course it reminds me of the Death card in tarot, which is Scorpio energy. You know, Scorpio energy talks about these deep emotional attachments. We did have a way of viewing life that we were motivated and inspired by, just like we did when we were 15 years old. But do we want to stay like a 15-year-old forever? No. And then, emotionally, we need to detach from some of those old ways of viewing life if we want to give birth. And the Death card in tarot also talks about shedding an old way of viewing life and our emotional attachment to it to transform our life and give birth to something new. So we live life in a certain way, we view life a certain way. It's just unfair in a way that we lived our life that way, because that was how we viewed life, and it was kind of our emotional maturity level. But then when we see that maybe it's time to let some old ways of being go because it stops us from getting the justice we deserve, that it is time to, here with the gift of money, kind of like the Ace of Pentacles, it's kind of time to incorporate some of the lessons we've learned into our philosophy of life and how we make decisions, because we don't want to keep living our life, viewing life the same way we viewed it forever, kind of like staying like a 15-year-old all our life. So we're always learning lessons, hopefully, and we incorporate the things that we learn into how we make decisions in our life. And hopefully we're growing and maturing ourselves over time. With this Capricorn here card kind of looking like a mountain, it also kind of reminds me of Virgo energy. We have to do that inner work about seeing the things that try to manipulate us and overcome those things and, get to the other side of the obstacles. And when we do that, then we have this sudden wealth. In a way, we're no longer letting our fear and our insecurity and our lack mentality and other people in our life who we might feel are trying to keep us living our life a certain way and viewing life a certain way. But, as I go through life, I do view life differently. I don't keep viewing life the same way I always did. But there are some people that don't want to incorporate new ways of looking at life into their philosophy of life. They want to keep moving forward kind of in the same way. It's like, when we're young, we can have people in our life that are like, no, I don't care if you want to keep being like a 15-year-old. You're going to go be like an 18-year-old. The abundance is no longer here. You need to go get a job. You need to go learn how to live on your own. You need to learn how to drive, all these different things. And so some people could have done a lot of those things maybe more reluctantly than other people. And then when we become an adult, we can choose if we want to keep learning more lessons, growing, healing, maturing ourselves, or if we don't. If we decide, I'm okay, I could become 21, I have a job, maybe I'm in a relationship, maybe I'm not, whatever, I'm good. I'm okay just doing this, like maybe for the rest of my life. And other people are more motivated and inspired to keep being willing to kind of go to the next level of the mountain. Like, I want to see what's possible on the other side. I don't want to, maybe in my philosophy of life, not give birth to anything new because I got caught up more in the world or things I'm indulging in to make me feel better. And do we end up realizing how if we make our life more about these things we might indulge in to make us feel better, how those things are stopping us from growing and healing and maturing ourselves, and it's stopping us from moving forward in life. Are we willing to see the truth of it or not? The truth sets us free, but we have free will and we can choose, nope, I'm good. I don't want to do anything different. I don't want to go get a different job. I don't want to move anywhere. I don't want to meet anybody new. I don't want to get new relationships or friendships or, and that's fine. Everybody can live their life the way they want, but not everybody is going to want to live their life that way. And some of the people who do live their life that way, it could really bother them that other people do work through what manipulates them to move forward in life differently. They work through their pain, their heartbreak, their fear, their insecurities. They're not as caught up in their ego or their image or the world or codependent energy. But some of these other people keep staying in that energy. And they wish other people would stay in that energy because then they'd be their friend, they'd be married to them, they'd date them, they'd keep them as an employee or keep working for them. But when people are in more shadowy energy, some shadowy people, they want people. What they want to give birth to is for other people to feel left out in the cold from believing in themselves and believing in their dreams. To keep letting those things eat away at them because those things also eat away at them. And they want them to stop feeling stable and abundant and grounded within themselves and believing that they deserve more justice or fairness in their life because they're happy living their life this way and they don't want other people to move forward. But other people do. And, can those people who kind of move on from some people be sad? Yeah. But, if I want to move forward and not let my fear, my insecurity, my pride, my ego make my life more about the world. High vibe energy is about being more independent and more balanced within yourself. High vibe Capricorn is being free of the devil. I don't want my more shadowy nature to run my life. I want my more hopeful, believing, loving nature to be in the driver's seat of my life. And then as I work through my issues and with my friends and family, hopefully as I grow and heal and mature myself, hopefully those people are still willing to be loving and encouraging. And we can have people in our life that are at different ways of living life. And we're like, hey, you do you, you do you. Hey, good job for you. Am I going to live my life like that? No. And that's fine. We accept that we can be happy for people doing whatever they want to go do. We kind of realize that everybody is going to have different outcomes and consequences in their life, depending on how they live their life. But we all have the free will to live our life. And, with most people, it's like, it's not a big deal. You do you, I do me. Can we get along? Can we be fine? Do we want to be in a more involved relationship? No, because we have different ways of viewing life and things that we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into. But can I like you and wish you well? Yeah. It's harder if it's someone that we really wanted to move forward with us and keep working with us. And, sometimes we can be in friendships and relationships with people for a long time. If one person does work through some of the things that could have manipulated them, they're kind of not the same person. The death card can talk about, what I used to think was just and fair, maybe in relationships or how I live my life. I don't view life that way anymore. I'm not that same person. Just like when I'm 18, I'm not the same person I was when I was 15. And we could know some people just like we did back then that want us to keep living like we're still a 15-year-old. It's like, those things don't interest me as much anymore like they did back then. And you might still be living your life that way. I'm fine with that. You do you. But I might want to move forward in life differently. And so then I might not spend as much time and effort with you because I'm kind of on to wanting to do different things, right? And that same situation can happen in our life later in life, where we have people that don't like that we're maybe moving forward in life differently, that we've overcome some things that used to manipulate us that maybe still manipulate them. Or we don't view life the same way we used to view life, but they still view life that way, you know? And that's okay because everyone is kind of on their own journey. And when we're ready to move forward in life differently, we are. And maybe some people never will. And, teach their own. But I think when we are willing to listen to our intuition and face our fears and work through some of those issues, it frees us from those things still manipulating us. And that's when we do feel more stable and abundant and grounded within ourselves. And we've kind of completed a cycle, and then we're ready to have this new beginning. And that can be why some people don't want to move forward, because if we're going to kind of the sudden wealth card is like the 10 of Pentacles. We have a way of living life and we all kind of like to stay in our comfort zone. And when some people are willing to move forward in life differently, like be a student of life, I'm willing to become independent of that old way of living life and maybe an aspect of my more worldly nature, codependent nature, materialistic nature, past pain, heartbreak, whatever. And I'm ready to move forward in life differently, and some other people aren't ready to give up anything yet. You might realize in time that, because you've lived your life like that too, and when you've kind of resisted change and kept repeating a pattern more out of your fear or your insecurity or your codependency, you know, kind of things can get worse and worse if we're not kind of taking steps to like move the ball of life up a slight incline, which takes work and effort. Sometimes we think, no, I can like freeze time. I don't have to do that. Like I can stop here and it'll all be okay. But the whole thing is, if we're not continuing to kind of put in that work and effort, things don't stand still, and kind of your life will backslide, and it could backslide a lot more than you thought because there's some fear maybe to be overcome, and it could be just about becoming independent of maybe being more about ourself, because the two Aries cards here and Aries energy is about the self, and maybe a lack mentality is what the Five of Pentacles can talk about. They might have things that eat away at them, but they could be unwilling to emotionally detach from some people in their life or ways of viewing life, even though they've seen that it's not conducive to their life moving forward. If we're still kind of emotionally relying on those things to maybe make us feel better, to use to get people to be our friend or be in a relationship with us, we have to come up with new coping skills, or we need to come up with just willing to look at life differently, to do life a little differently. And that could require people to step out of their comfort zone and maybe just require them to get more balance within themselves, and they might be more tipped out of balance in either trying to manipulate people, control people. That's like shadowy Aries, and then is controlling, and just manipulation is just shadowy energy. You're either being more truthful and honest and authentic and loving and encouraging and treating people the way you like to be treated, or you think, no, I can maybe manipulate and control people to try to get them to do what I want. And so sometimes shadowy people will kind of leave people out in the cold, like kind of reject them, be hurtful, be unkind, just do these shadowy things to try to manipulate people. And the other people find it hurtful in the despair card. It's confusing. Why are these people acting like this? And as you work through it, you kind of see the truth that people have the free will to be more just and fair, open, authentic, loving. And I've already known people in my life who chose to kind of go about things in a shadowy way. And that's not how I maybe try to go about things. And I do find that more immature and manipulative. And I don't like people trying to manipulate me. Why not be truthful and authentic? But some people, it's like that they were never that type of person to begin with, because people can kind of try to create an illusion that they are motivated and inspired by truth and love and all those things too. But underneath it, they're kind of hiding these more shadowy energies, but they try to present themselves as a more just and fair and stable and grounded and more emotionally mature person than they really are. And then as time goes by, we kind of see the truth and we kind of realize, I need to leave this job, or I need to leave this friendship or this relationship, because they're not who they present themselves as being. And then it can take time to work through the emotional confusion of it. And if we're willing to learn the lessons we are meant to learn from it, there are people in the world. If you're someone who's motivated and inspired by love, and you really are who you say you are, and you try to be more, authentically who you are, and treat people the way you like to be treated, and be more upfront and be more authentic and loving in relationships, and you're motivated and inspired by love, you can think everybody's motivated and inspired by love. But we need to see the truth that not everybody is motivated and inspired by love. They could think it's just and fair in their way of thinking that I think it's just and fair for me to be in these more shadowy energies. And my idea of the great kind of life that I want to be in is to be in a relationship with someone who's more loving and nurturing. But they're not that type of person. But they look like that type of person, and they present themselves as that type of person. But eventually, shadowy Scorpio is where it seems kind of emotionally shallow and superficial. Loving people freely give of themselves from love. And they're authentically warm and loving, where other people you can feel like, you talk like love, you quack like love, you act like love. I just don't feel like it really authentically is love. I think it's kind of more letting your ego run your life and putting on a performance. That's living more from your mind than your heart. And could there be a lot of things I like about the relationship? Could you be in my family? Could you be someone I did want to be in a long-term friendship or romantic relationship with? Did I want to marry you? Did I marry you? And then sometimes shadowy people are hoping for all those reasons that even when you do see the truth, it'll be very difficult for you to emotionally detach yourself from them, because you wanted this dream to come into reality, but it's not. So high vibe people harness some high vibe Aries, Taurus, Capricorn, Libra, Virgo, Cancer, Capricorn. When they find themselves in relationships with people where they kind of feel left out in the cold, and they feel like they're trying to encourage people to work together with them in a more loving and encouraging way, but the other people keep trying to emotionally confuse them maybe about the truth. That can be shadowy Scorpio. And keep trying to tempt them more, You should stay in this. It has stability. It has security. You love me. Um, and it can keep people in it for a really long time, but or you should stay in this job. It has status and image and all these things. It's like, yeah, but you people I have to work with are like petty and immature and bossy and controlling, and you're not just and fair and emotionally mature, you know? And I don't want to keep being in an environment with people who are like that. And eventually, high vibe people work through all the emotional confusion of it, and they want to keep investing in people in their life who they think have worked through regrets of the past, who have freed themselves from things that had manipulated them to be more inspired by love. If that's the people they're currently in relationships with, they'll keep moving forward with them. If there's some people that they've been moving forward with, they could emotionally detach from some of those people. If there's people in their life or in their past or in their present or in their future that they do feel are more on the same page as them, they would reach out to those people to communicate. And some of you have already done that. And then those people have to work through this within themselves about what their truth is. Irregardless, high vibe people keep moving on, except that not everybody is on the same page as you at the same time as you, and you're going to keep focused on putting in work and effort. You might know that some people aren't seeing things clearly, and their immature nature, their prideful nature, their materialistic nature, their self-indulgent nature, you've already kind of been there, and you know that those things that they're looking to feel empowered or to feel powerful or to feel important or to feel better is probably just going to leave them eventually in despair. But you had to learn some lessons the hard way. Some other people are going to have to learn some lessons the hard way, and we have to let everybody, they're on their own journey of learning lessons in life. And if they don't want to be more grounded and they want to, I don't know, keep thinking people will indulge them or that they can change other people, it's like, well, we all got our lessons to learn. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep focusing on the people in my life that are working together with me cooperatively, focus on my career, my unique talent, skills, and interest, other aspects to my dream, the people I am in relationship with that work together with me that way. High vibe energy is being independent and being a good leader in the world. Some people do feel left out in the cold, and there's a part of them that would like to detach from their more self indulgent or worldly nature, but they kind of, even when they try, which it's hard to climb that mountain, right? And the Ten of Pentacles here is like Virgo energy. It's slow, steady steps, and some people lack patience. And it's like, but I want it now, or I want to feel better now. Well, to really free yourself from things that manipulate you, it takes time. If we've ever tried to free ourselves from something, like, say, you even just have a harsh critical inner voice, that's it. I'm done from now on. I'm not going to belittle and berate myself, and I'm going to treat myself like my own best mother, father, coach voice in my head. Well, that can take a long time. It's hard to break those habits. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of my sign over there. It's hard to change certain habits and philosophies of life that we have and ways of viewing ourselves and others, or if we're a more jealous or envious person, it's kind of hard to change that. But we kind of have to look at, well, why do I feel that way, and why do I belittle and berate myself, or why do I get so jealous or envious of other people? The truth sets us free. There's always going to be people in the world who are hurtful and unkind, unjust, people we could be jealous and envious of. Is that the soil we want to try to grow our life from? But it's kind of triggering us. We might want to look at it to figure out why. And do I think I don't really know. I can only do and work with what I have to work with. and to feel proud of myself that I'm doing the best that I can. Some people could seem to have a silver spoon, and you didn't get the silver spoon in your mouth to have a lot of abundance or whatever in your life, or attractiveness or charm or whatever. But we don't have to give up on ourselves because of it, and some people do. It's like, oh, it's not even worth putting in the work and effort, and then they kind of stay in the self-pity energy. Well, is that, you have the free will to do that? Or you can choose that, I can only work with what I have to work with. And I believe, if you have belief that there's more to work with, if I put in work and effort to overcome what seems like obstacles in my life, I believe that high vibe energy represented by God at the big picture works together with us to try to help us manifest our dreams into reality. But we can all give up, and some people did give up. And, it's kind of like that's what they keep investing in is dead energy, because then it doesn't require them to change. And for some people, that is their comfort zone. And even if they're sad and miserable, I guess it could maybe be the fear of trying something new and it not working out. Well, then that can be kind of our ego. The people who made the light bulb, I think they said, it took like hundreds or maybe thousands to times to get the light bulb to work. I'm glad those people didn't give up. Is everything? No, because we have more things to learn. There's no guarantee, because life is about learning these lessons. Do you think you can pick yourself back up and no matter what, if things don't go the way you wanted, because everything doesn't go your way, that I love and believe in myself, that I can keep picking myself up. There is no obstacle in my way except really the obstacles that I let stay in my way. I can work around it. People can try to be a roadblock in my life. Negative energy can try to be a roadblock in my life. My own shadow nature and my worldly nature can try to be a roadblock in my life. But I can keep putting in work and effort to keep believing. Sometimes we're just going through a period. We don't control the world, and sometimes there is negative things going on in the world, negative environments, and it's kind of like a winter phase where things seem frozen and not moving. But if we don't indulge in our more shadowy nature, it's like, you know what? I can still invest in myself. I can heal. I can grow. I can read. I can watch movies. I can enjoy my life. I can educate myself. I can invest in myself. I can go to college, or something. All those things will be of benefit at a future point in time. And sometimes we just have to be patient because things are kind of being clear, a phase of kind of clearing things out. And then things will be more, on our page, what goes up must come down. Things cycle around. Sometimes, things that are going on in the world aren't aligned with our truth, but eventually things will come around to be more aligned with our truth. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy that they might not see coming? There could be some people in the world that have seen you move forward in life, that you have emotionally detached from some ways of being and people in your life, and they would like to have a new beginning with you. Some of those people could be sad that maybe they didn't reach out to you when you were going through that difficult time that they could have seen you in. Or maybe when you were going through a difficult time, it was because you weren't in relationships with other people and they were sad that you weren't in relationship with them and you were in this difficult cycle. And they were hoping that eventually you'd kind of see through some phase of life you were in and that you would free yourself from it because they had wanted to be in a relationship with you. But while you were in some phase of life that you needed to overcome and work through, and they've kind of been waiting to, for someone like you to come into their life, or there's someone who knew you and wanted to be in a relationship with you. We have the Chariot, the Page of Cups and the Three of Wands. And why did that come out? Because of the Four of Cups. Again, we can feel sad that there was some people that we had love for. The Chariot is Cancer energy. The Four of Cups is Cancer energy. There was people that we love that we wish had moved forward with us in a more emotionally balanced, loving way. But they are rejecting love for some reason at this point. And some of them could be more caught up in just wanting to create the illusion of love without really having to do love, or they're more caught up in looking victorious and successful in the world and not so much about love. Maybe could be a little more superficial and shallow, some of them. But your own high vibe nature and other high vibe people in your life harnessing high vibe Aries energy, your own high vibe nature and your own inner child nature always hoped that you would take that cup of love to love and believe in yourself, to get more balance within yourself, and to move away from the aspect of yourself that didn't love yourself and people in your life who really didn't want you to love yourself, because then you'd keep staying in a relationship with them. And your high vibe nature and other people in high vibe energy want you to keep loving and believing in yourself. Sometimes the Four of Cups can talk about that we can just be sad that some people that we would like to have us work together with us more cooperatively, that they're not. And sometimes some things are a missed opportunity. And sometimes some people at one point that we wanted to have a dream come into reality, when that wasn't working out and we kind of weren't on the same page, we move forward in new friendships and relationships. If some of those people work through some of their issues, some of those people, high vibe people keep staying in the energy of love, because love is what helps free us. That I wish you peace and love. I hope you work through what manipulates you. And maybe over time, some of those people might want to come towards you, but if your intuition tells you some of the things they went to go invest in didn't work out the way they wanted, they're still haven't seen the truth. They still align with thinking it's more just and fair and live more from their mind than their heart, and still kind of more driven and motivated by the world and ego and image. It's like, I wish you peace. And in some ways, was that something at one point in time I was involved in, I did want to be involved in, but now to me it seems more like, and I see the truth of it, that it's a little bit more about the ego and the image and not a deep, meaningful relationship. And that's not my truth anymore. And I maybe didn't realize it when I got in it, that it was more superficial and shallow, but I came to see the truth of it. And that's not how I want to move forward anymore. And then other people see that's not your truth. And other people who are more motivated and inspired by love are going to want to work with you and offer you that cup of love, because that's the same page they're on. They have also freed themselves from their more being about themselves or caught up in some prior way of viewing life or living life. And they kind of are on the same page as you. And those are the people you're going to keep moving forward with. And you're going to move forward victoriously and successfully, because love helped you get balance to love yourself and believe in yourself and believe in your dreams and your own shadowy worldly nature and other people in more worldly shadowy energy that tried to stop you and be an obstacle in your life. Those things can only be an obstacle in your life so long as you think they're an obstacle in your life. And I don't have to figure out how to remove it. I keep believing and working like with the divine, and the divine takes care of it. I do my part and the divine does the rest. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy? that they might not see coming up. Who might keep thinking they can control people or manipulate people or stop people from loving and believing in themselves. Some of the people who tried to manipulate you are in regret that they tried to manipulate you, but you saw the truth of them, and they see that you're still in an energy of peace and love, but that you're moving on. And their tactics didn't work, and some of them wish they wouldn't have tried to intimidate you or control you, but they did. You know, and unless they're willing to reveal the truth and apologize, you're going to keep moving on. And some of those people are too prideful and egotistical to admit that they made a mistake and to humble themselves to apologize. The Knight of Swords, the Hermit, the Eight of Wands, and the Two of Wands, and the reason that came out is because of the Karma card, which is like the Judgment card. Some shadowy people keep being defensive to the truth. Somewhere along the way, they quit being inspired to believe in themselves and believe in their dreams. From the Eight of Wands to the Two of Wands, they would have had to let go of the Six of Wands, which is their more egoic nature and being more inspired by themselves and the world. And they were defensive to doing this inner work to kind of wrap their brain around this game of life, to look at these things that manipulate them. And it could be that they hide, they're more inspired by themselves and are more about themselves. And since they could think it's just and fair to be more about themselves, when they get in relationships with people, they think those people should make their life more about them. And they think that's just and fair. Love is supposed to be where you treat other people the way you like to be treated. And you realize that everybody has their dreams, and you work cooperatively to bring a joint dream into reality. But some people are like, well, no, I thought we were going to move forward and it was going to be more about me. Well, they keep kind of defending that way of living life, or just being more inspired by the worldly dream. And they face karmic consequences because of it. And they could be facing some consequences again, because they keep repeating a certain pattern that they don't want to see the truth of. They have a way of being that they don't want to put an end to because they think it's just and fair. And other people don't think it's just and fair. And other people become independent of them. But they don't want to see the truth. Defensive to seeing the truth. Defensive to getting out of their more defensive egoic nature and kind of having some hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love. And they might right now have some other people that are telling them, you know, I've done some inner work to think about this relationship and how it's going. I'm trying to move things forward to detach from like an old way of living life in the past to have this new beginning. But you seem to not want to invest in detaching, of letting something go, to have that new beginning. And you might think it's just and fair to keep repeating this pattern over and over, but I want to move forward in life to have this new beginning. And you keep, I don't know, being codependent, being defensive, being hurtful or unkind or intimidating or controlling, or wanting me to stay in it more out of my fear or codependency. And eventually the people are ready to tell them their truth. I'm moving forward. I have a dream. And I see you're not in the Six of Wands willing to move forward with me to bring that dream into reality, because you'd either have to let go of a different way of viewing life that you view as victorious or successful, Or if there's people in your life that you'd have to become independent of, and you had always planned to kind of move forward with those people, and that's maybe more where your primary loyalty lies, well, then go hang out with those people. If that's your friends or your original family or someone else, you know, if you don't view it as, and again, it could feel like people are hiding that they're kind of more indulging in the relationship. I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's just indulging themselves in it. Are we working to bring a dream into reality and get out of our ego, get out of our lack mentality, get out of our more immature, self-indulgent nature, detach from old foundations and other relationships that we could be in to move forward? And if not, then I wish you peace. And then some of these people are going to go repeat this pattern again, hiding that some high vibrational people weren't willing to keep moving forward, indulging them in these kind of shadowy ways of being. And they might go try to find someone who, again, could feel left out in the cold because something didn't work out the way they wanted. And they'll try to present themselves as this high vibe person that these people should get in a relationship with. And it's only a matter of time before the other people they get in a relationship realize that this person has some issues they don't deal with, and they repeat some poor past patterns, and they're kind of maybe immature and defensive or egotistical or self-centered or more materialistic, or as long as it's good for their ego and their image. But if people want them to become more independent and work through some of their issues to be free of them, no, that's a no-go. They are defensive to doing that inner work. I don't have to. It's done. It's over. I don't have to deal with it. But they don't realize maybe how those things affect how they take action and how they act in a relationship. In their Taurus energy, it affects the decisions they make. And until they see that because of maybe some issues that they don't deal with, and they keep thinking they can ignore it, as long as they keep ignoring it, I don't think they're going to get it's not going to turn out the way they think. And they might end up in relationships with people who kind of are more on the same page as them. Other people who kind of might be more about themselves or the world or money or indulgence, maybe a little more immature, don't want to grow up. And sometimes some people, they have a certain status and image, and they think they can maintain the certain status and image that they have and still go do these kind of more hurtful, unkind, shadowy, immature, whatever ways of being, and people won't see the truth. Well, for a long time, people don't want to see the truth, and they give people the benefit of the doubt. But as people keep repeating certain behaviors that might be behaviors they weren't doing before, well, if they keep repeating these behaviors that seem to be contradictory to how they try to present themselves, eventually people see through the illusion, and they kind of realize that some people aren't who they presented themselves to be. Maybe people had to maintain a certain way of being in the world while maybe other people were in their life. It's kind of like, sometimes it makes me think about college students going to college. They could like to think that they're this more stable, grounded, emotionally mature person, and I don't need like these people and my mom and dad or whatever trying to keep me on the right path. And then they go off to college and they quit kind of practicing some of those ways of being that other people in their life used to kind of encourage them or make them kind of toe the line. And then when they're not around those people anymore, then they kind of go indulge in things they want to go indulge in. And they end up, you can kind of drive your life off into the ditch. And then we can kind of want to tend to blame other people. Like, I wouldn't have driven my life off into the ditch if you had been more loving and encouraging and supportive in my life, or blah, 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 blah. And then people can go through that phase. And then we got to realize, that all still keeps me not wanting to deal with the truth, and I keep blaming everyone else. So then I'm in another, at what point are we done blaming everyone? And I'm the only one who ultimately affects the decisions I make in my life. I could keep saying, well, I wouldn't do this if that person wouldn't have done that 5 years ago or 15 years ago. It's like, how long are we going to keep, even if they were shadowy and hurtful and unkind people, keep manipulating us? When are we going to free ourselves and not take over, like maybe being a shadowy, negative person to ourselves because other people were shadowy or negative or rejecting of us? Are we going to keep rejecting ourselves? Or are we going to love ourselves and love our inner child nature and heal and grow and mature ourselves? We are not children anymore. We are meant to learn to love and believe in ourselves and be loving and encouraging to ourselves, and to act in a way that we can be proud of. And some people keep acting in ways that are nothing to be proud of, but they don't want to see that that's the very thing that keeps, I just don't understand it myself. Let's ask, why do some people keep repeating patterns that are nothing to be proud of? And they could know that, but they keep doing it anyway. The Six of Cups, the Strength card, the Page of Swords, and the Two of Pentacles in reverse because of the King of Swords and the Five of Swords. Well, there's some truth that they have mental conflict about. And the King of Swords can be our more self-protective nature, that if I were to deal with the truth of why I do what I do, it would really cause me a lot of mental conflict. So the whole thing is, when we're ready to deal with the truth, we'll deal with the truth. But the Six of Cups can talk about in the past, maybe people did indulge them in their more immature ways of being, and they didn't have to be more balanced. And some of them have decided, even though they could have had people in their life who kind of indulged them when they were children, now they're an adult, but they have mental conflict about seeing that it's not still more about them, and not everybody's going to indulge them like maybe their parents did or other people that they had been in relationship with. And it's kind of time to keep thinking they can juggle the truth, maybe. But some of them aren't very balanced. They could have had people in their life who tried to help them appear and seem more balanced. But they really might be someone who has a lot of mental conflict. And again, kind of this immature and thinking things should be maybe more about them, or to emotionally manipulate people. Some of them have had people who emotionally manipulated them and were more bossy and controlling, and now they kind of want to go live their own life. It could be a lot of different reasons, but it could be people kind of indulge them in their more immature nature in the past, and then they kind of keep thinking people should. And then they get frustrated when other people don't, because other people did. And some of the people in their life who used to kind of more indulge them and would let them kind of manipulate them in this way, if those people aren't letting them manipulate them that way anymore, they got to go find new people to manipulate, because they don't want to change. They have mental conflict about healing, dealing with the truth, and change, because the fives talk about change, and that's the Five of Swords. So there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.